Admiral Vex of the Galactic Coalition leaned forward in his command chair, mandibles clicking with amusement as the holographic display showed Earth's defensive fleet. Barely 24 ships, most of them hastily retrofitted civilian vessels. His own armada numbered in the hundreds, sleek, purpose-built warships crewed by the finest warriors from 17 advanced civilizations. "They can't be serious," his second-in-command, Lieutenant Knox, remarked. "Their ships are practically antiques." "The humans refused our protection agreement. They'd chosen to stand alone," Vex replied. "A regrettable decision, but it will make for a quick conquest." The Coalition had absorbed hundreds of planets over the centuries. Some joined willingly, others required persuasion. Earth had proven stubborn, insisting on independence despite repeated warnings about the Devourer horde approaching from the outer rim. "Begin the standard intimidation protocol," Vex ordered. "Let's see if they reconsider our generous offer before we embarrass them." Captain Tom Miller gripped the handrail on the bridge of the USS Defiant as Coalition ships surrounded Earth's defensive perimeter. A former cargo hauler captain, he'd been hastily commissioned when Earth formed its defense force. His crew was a mix of military personnel and civilian volunteers, unified by their determination to remain free. "They're broadcasting, sir," his communications officer Jack announced. "Standard surrender terms with a 10-minute deadline." Miller nodded. "As expected. Are our ships in position?" His tactical officer Lisa nodded. "Yes, sir. All vessels report ready. The ground forces are standing by." Miller allowed himself a small smile. Informed command were proceeding with Operation Trojan. Admiral Vex was growing impatient. 8 minutes had passed with no response from the Earth vessels. "Perhaps their communication systems are as primitive as their ships," Knox suggested. Before Vex could respond, his sensor officer called out, "Admiral, the human ships, they're self-destructing." Vex leaped to his feet, watching in disbelief as the Earth vessels exploded one after another in brilliant flashes. "What madness is this? They're destroying their own fleet." "Sir," the sensor officer continued, "I'm detecting thousands of small objects dispersing from the explosion sites." Vex squinted at the display. "Escape pods?" "No, something else." Before he could order a detailed scan, his communications officer interrupted. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Earth." A human face appeared on screen, a gray-haired man with weathered features. "This is General William Hayes of Earth Defense Force. Your deadline expired. We've opted for a more personal approach." The transmission cut off abruptly. "What did he mean by that?" Knox asked. The answer came seconds later when proximity alarms blared throughout the fleet. The small objects were combat pods, each containing a single human soldier in powered armor. While the Coalition relied on massive warships with overwhelming firepower, humans had developed a different strategy: infiltration. Miller watched from his own pod as thousands of Earth's finest soldiers latched onto Coalition ships. Each carried plasma cutters, specialized hacking equipment, and an intimate understanding of how to create chaos. "Begin Phase 2, he ordered through the tactical network. Inside the Coalition flagship, alarm klaxons wailed as reports flooded in from across the fleet. Humans were cutting their way into ships, disabling systems, and engaging crew in close-quarters combat. Coalition soldiers, accustomed to ship-to-ship warfare, found themselves facing an enemy who had bypassed their shields and heavy weapons. "Impossible." Vex roared as another ship reported a critical reactor breach. "How are they doing this?" "Sir," Knox said, voice trembling, "humans are inside our ship. They've taken engineering and are moving toward the bridge." Vex had studied human history during mission preparation, but had dismissed it as irrelevant. Now, too late, he remembered mentions of boarding actions and hand-to-hand combat, archaic concepts that other civilizations had abandoned millennia ago. "Seal the bridge," he commanded. 3 hours later, more than half the Coalition fleet had been neutralized. Some ships drifted powerless, others had been completely captured by human forces. The remaining vessels had retreated to a safe distance, their crews shaken by the unexpected turn of events. In the flagship's conference room, now serving as an impromptu prison, Admiral Vex sat across from General Hayes and Captain Miller. "You could have joined us peacefully," Vex stated, still struggling to comprehend his defeat. Hayes shook his head. Your protection would have meant surrendering our autonomy. We prefer to handle things ourselves. But your ships were primitive, Vex protested. Your technology inferior. Miller leaned forward. We didn't put our faith in ships. We put it in people. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've gotten quite good at it. The Coalition has never encountered a species that excels at combat on such a personal level, Vex admitted. Our soldiers are trained to operate weapons systems, not to fight hand-to-hand in corridors. That was your mistake, Hayes said simply. You laughed at our army because you measured our strength in ships and firepower. You forgot that armies are made of soldiers. Vex's mandibles drooped in resignation. What happens now? Hayes slid a tablet across the table. New terms. Earth will join your coalition, but as an equal partner, not a subject. And when the Devour Horde arrives, our soldiers will help defend coalition worlds, the human way. Vex looked at the tablet, then at the two humans before him. He thought of the reports from his surviving ships, tales of human soldiers fighting with ferocity and adaptability his people couldn't comprehend. Perhaps, he said slowly, there is much the Coalition could learn from Earth after all. Miller smiled. Lesson 1. Never underestimate humans.